So
I've used it before. Actually, I'm redoing this because at the time that I was supposed to do this, I traveled. So that's why I'm redoing this one.
all
But
right,
I'm in a higher
wonderful.
trimester. Yeah.
So yesterday we talked about the basic device configuration. I've sent you the PPTs, and we also talk about the switch concept. How does a switch learn the MAC address of the devices? Because we said the switch has a table called the MAC table or the CAM table, content addressable memory. So I'm going to give you a very short lab on the basic switch configuration. How do we configure the switch port speed? How do we configure the duplex setting of the switch? How do we configure the host name of a switch? How do we manage the switch remotely? Okay.
Okay.
Right. So it's all about switches. So we can take our switch here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's have at least 2 computers or 3 computers. I hope you're seeing my screen.
Yeah, I can see.
All right. So we connect devices. Okay. So at the switch level, the switch will be able to send frames. We call it frames because the protocol data unit at layer 2 is called frame, and the switch is a layer 2 device. So the switch will be able to send frames using the source and destination MAC address. Okay, so like we can give IP addresses to the computers. Oh, sorry. How do we assign an IP address to the computer? Desktop IP address, and let's give IP addresses 192.168.10.1. So at this level, we don't need a default gateway because we'll be communicating, in the same local area network. So we don't need a default gateway for now. So let's configure this other computer, 192.168.10.2. Okay, we configure the last one, 192.168.10.3. So that is all. Okay, so every computer, I believe you should know this, or every device in a network must have a MAC address. The MAC address is a 48-bit hexadecimal code. That is the hardware address of the device. It is called the MAC address. Some will call it the hardware address or the bonding address. Okay, so the switch is going to maintain a table called the CAM table. Let me increase the font size here. Wait, I want this How? No. Omar? Are you there, Omar?
Yeah, sure. I'm following.
So, all right, I have increased the font size. So MAC address. Okay, clear MAC address. So normally, like I told you, you can see these computers are connected to different ports. So every computer, the switch is going to learn the MAC address of the computer and the port that is connected. So that is the content of the MAC table. There are some information that pass through, but normally, first time connecting it, the MAC table should be empty. You can see the MAC table is empty. Until and unless this computer started talking, the switch is going to learn from the source and destination MAC address and the corresponding ports and populate the MAC table of the switch. So if the MAC table of the switch is populated, anytime a packet comes, the switch is going to look at the destination MAC address. When the switch look at the destination MAC address, the switch is going to refer to its MAC table, okay? And then we'll be able to forward that packet to the correct side, okay? So now you can see the table is empty because there is no communication. But when we try to send packets, and this is how you send a packet, you can take this envelope, drop it here and then here, okay? As soon as you drop it, you can look at the results here. You can see the results is telling you that it is successful. So if you go back and check the content of the MAC table with this command, you can see the switch is able to learn this MAC address, and it's telling you that the MAC at this computer with this MAC address is connected to port 1 of the switch. And again, it was able to learn this particular MAC address of the computer and that it is connected to this port. Is it clear?
This those MAC addresses, are they like because they are not hexadecimal?
Yes, they are.
Or they're just like dummy data. It's just for learning purpose.
No, wait. They are hexadecimal. Let me check. Let me confirm what you're saying. You can see it is hexadecimal. You have zeros. You have both letters and numbers. Can you confirm?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. There, I can see the letters now.
Yes, they are hex values. So these two computers communicate. Let's send another communication to the third computer. You can see it is successful. So if you go back to the switch again, you will see that the switch will learn the third one also. You can see the third computer is also here and is connected to port 3. So this is how the switch, because what happened in the initial communication, the switch will not know the MAC addresses. So when a computer sends, the first computer sends packets, the switch is going to send a broadcast. I can demonstrate how that broadcast look like. Let me clear the MAC address table. So you can see I have cleared the MAC address table, sorry. I have cleared the MAC address. Right now, there is no information. So the switch is fresh. The switch doesn't know about the destination and source MAC address. So if I pick a packet here, before doing that, okay, let's go on stimulation mode. Cancel everything. If I pick a packet and drop it here, then the packet should be dropped here. Oh, that's all, everything is. Let me restart. Yeah. Let me restart with my content. Show mark, okay. Let me clear it, please, sorry, yeah. So now, look at this. Let's go through simulation mode. What is this? If I pick a packet, drop it here and here, and then you check. Normally, just hold on a second. I think okay. I used to play around with this, so I just wanted to show you how the simulation works.
Yeah, I can see.
So normally, the first time when you send a packet, it's going to send a broadcast to all the computers, just like if this is your classroom and you have everybody seated in the classroom, and the first time I came in to give lectures, I do not know any of the students. I don't know their names. I don't know their faces. So if I want to talk to Omar, for instance, for the first time, what do? I have to yield. I have to shout Omar's name. and that is a broadcast. So every student in the class will hear this broadcast. But who is going to answer? Only Omar is going to answer. Okay? Nobody is going to answer inside the classroom. Only Omar is going to answer. So if Omar should answer for the first time, then I'm going to identify Omar. So the next time I want to talk to Omar, I don't need to broadcast it, right? I can simply point directions to Omar, straightforward. Okay? So that is the whole idea I'm trying to put across. So this is how the switch populates its MAC address table. So about the basic management of the switch, we can go to the switch. Let's start. At this level, we are in the privilege mode. You type configure terminal to go into global configuration mode. We are in the global configuration mode right now. Okay, so what do? We want to give host name to the switch. So the command is host name switch, let's say underscore floor 1. These host names are also very important. It should have a meaning. You cannot just take any host name and give it to devices like that. And the name should at least have a meaning so that if somebody is walking there and log into that switch, will understand where he is. Let's say, for instance, this is it's a 3-story building. The switch at floor 1, you should name it at switch floor 1. Or if the switch is in the finance department, you can name it as finance department switch. So at least the name should have a meaning. That is one important thing. So this is how we give a name to the switch. You can see the prompt has changed from switch to switch floor 1. Okay, so exit. Let's go back one step. We want to check the clock of this switch. Show clock. You can see this switch has a clock that says on the 1st of March, Monday, 1993. Okay, how do we change the clock settings? Okay, set. The command is clock set. Okay, the hour right now is, I think it's 1453 according to my laptop. So today's date is what, 25th, right? And the month is what? September. And then 2020. This is the command to set the clock of your device. It's the full command. Okay? So now let's check the clock. So clock, you can see we have the correct timing. It's telling you today is Friday, September 25th, 2020. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good. So about the remote management, for you to be able to remotely manage your device, okay, you can either use Telnet or SSH, okay? But before we configure Telnet or SSH, configure terminal, sorry. We have to configure the username of the switch. Let's say username is CMIT, and our password is Cisco. So we have to give a username and password to the switch. So now, let us configure Telnet. To configure Telnet, the command is line VTY 0 space 4. What does that 0 space 4 means? We want to allow concurrently 5 Telnet sessions on this switch. You can make it 0 space 15. Maximum is 15. Okay? So we can give password Cisco, and we can give login local, or either login. I think login should be okay. Okay, so this is Now we have configured a telnet. Okay. There's another thing called enable password. If you look at this command here, right now, exit, we are in the user execute mode. We have to type enable to go to privilege mode. But there is no password here, you can see. From the privilege mode, you type enable, you go straight. But we can configure enable password such that if the user want to move from user mode to privilege mode, the switch is going to ask for a password. How do we configure that password? We go into global configuration mode, enable password, we can give it Cisco. So now let's check, exit. Now if you type enable, you see it's asking for a password. You have to give that password. Is that okay? Hmm?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sorry,
So,
my Mac is a bit buggy. That's why.
pardon?
I'm saying my Mac is a bit buggy. When I respond, it takes some time.
Oh, okay. So the thing is, now we have configured telnet. One more important thing is, for you to be able to remotely manage any device, that device must have it must have an IP address. You cannot, because you are going to use that IP address to remotely log into that device. So right now our switch doesn't have any IP address, but we have configured telnet. So let us configure an IP address to the switch. Like if you pay attention, we talk about the switch virtual interfaces. So we are going to configure an IP address on the switch virtual interface. So interface VLAN 99. We have created an interface, a switch virtual interface that is called VLAN 99. We are going to give an IP address to that VLAN 192.168.10.10. 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. So now we have configured a switch virtual interface. So we are going to use that IP address to be able to remotely log in. Okay? You understand? So now let's leave the old switch, go to the computers. Now we want to manage this switch right from this computer. It's like the setup in your office. Your switch may be in the server room. You are seated on this desktop. You want to remotely manage the switch. So you can use the telnet client. There is a telnet, you can see here, telnet or SSH client. The connection type is we want to use telnet. So we need to put in the IP address that is configured on the switch, 10.10, and then we can connect. What is wrong? Something is wrong. Let's check. Let me close this. Go back. Okay. We said is telnet is 192.168.10.10. So let's connect. Now we cannot think something is wrong. Let's find out what is wrong. It's good when you are doing configurations, you have some trouble, you try to find out. Now let us ping the IP that we want to connect to, whether that IP is there. 10.10, 10.10. Why is it not going? Request timeout. So let's check connectivity. It's good we have this type of problems. So when you try to connect to it, you could not connect. Check whether there is reachability. First, let's check the IP address on this computer before we move on. It's 192.168.10.1.
Not 10.10.
No, but that is the computer, but the switch we have configured 10.10.
Okay, yeah, it's the switch, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
cool.
So even if you go to the switch, let me expand this. And so IP interface brief. So you can see I have VLAN 99 configured 192.168.10.10, but it is still down. You can see. Can you see this?
It's not up. That's
It's,
why the request timed out.
yes, so let's try to bring it up. Configure terminal, interface, VLAN, 99, no shutdown. The interface should come up, because if the interface do not come up, we cannot. Why is the interface still down? Okay, now what I will do is, hold on, just watch. Configure terminal. Okay, no VLAN 99. Okay, let me use, you can see I have deleted VLAN 99. So show IP interface brief. You see, I try to take VLAN 99 off, but let me use VLAN 1. Okay, let me use VLAN 1. Okay, interface, so exit, interface, VLAN 1, IP address 192.168.10.9. Let me use 10.9.0, and then no shutdown. Let me see. Okay, perfect. You can see VLAN 1 is up. By the time the link is up, you will get the warning. You can see it's up. So let's go back, END, and then show IP interface brief. Where is VLAN 1? You can see VLAN 1 is up. Right. So let's go back to the computer, cancel. Let's ping that VLAN 1 and see that is 10.9. Let us ping that one. You see, it's reachable. Okay? That is reachable. Since it is reachable, then let's try to send telnet session there. Telnet is telnet. 192.168.10.9. So click connect, you can see. It's asking for the password. Cisco, you can see. Right away, we are in the switch. You can see switch flow 1. Okay? So when we type enable, we have to put in the enable password also, Cisco. You can see. So we can configure this switch from our computers. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Fine. So there is one way, but one thing we said about the telnet session is not a secure communication tool.
Yeah.
What telnet does is it sends all your information, your username and password in plain text. So we should configure. Sorry. The use of SSH is highly encouraged. So what we do is we should also configure SSH. Let's move to that one, configure terminal. One thing is the requirement for SSH is the device must have a host name. It must also have a domain name. Okay. It must also have a domain name. Domain name, let's say cisco.com. You must give it a domain name. So the first requirement is there must be a username and a password. You must configure a host name and domain name. Okay. Then crypto key generate RSA. Crypto key generate, then RSA. You know, we said SSH sends the information in an encrypted format. So the algorithm is going to use is RSA. RSA is an algorithm that the SSH is going to use to encrypt the information that you are sending. Okay? Is that clear? Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir, very well. It's clear. You said
Okay.
it will increase. I know this RSA. It's like a standard encryption organization, something like that. They have
Yes,
RSA
yes,
different.
yes. It's an algorithm that is developed
Yeah,
by 3 people, and they use the alphabet, the first letters of their name. I think it's Ramesh,
yeah,
Shamir, and Adleman. It's an encryption algorithm that if you do cryptography, you will know about it.
yeah, exactly.
Cryptography and algorithms. So now that is done. So we
Mm,
have to go into line VTY. This is 0 space 4. And then transport input. If you type transport input, you can see we have all known SSH and telnet. Here, my transport input is maybe I want to use both SSH and telnet. I'll put all. But if I want only SSH, I'm going to put SSH. Login local means use the local database of the switch for authentication. Because in enterprise networks, you can have a centralized authentication systems or a local authentication systems. So here we are telling the switch to use the local database of the switch for authentication. Is that clear?
yes,
So
sir.
let's test and see whether our SSH is going to work. So you can see here we are going to use SSH. This is where you change them, okay? But SSH, you have to give the IP address, 10.9. And then you have to give the username. I think the username we created is CMIT. Connect, and you have to put the password, Cisco. You can see. When you type enable, you have to give the password as Cisco also, right? So you can do anything with this now. Okay, let me expand it. So pay attention to these show commands. They are very important. Show IP interface brief. This will give you all the interfaces on this switch. You can see from port 1 to port 21 up to port 24 up to the gigabit 1 and 2. You can see the 2 VLANs we have created and the IPs. So this command is going to give you the status of all the interfaces, whether the interface is up or down. You can see we have connected 3 computers on this switch. So these are their interface switches. All the interfaces are up, but the rest of the ports are all down. Is that clear? Okay. So now the final part is how do we configure the port settings of the switch and the duplex settings? Like I told you yesterday, every switch port has a type and a label. Okay. The switch port will either be Ethernet port, fast Ethernet port, or a gigabit port. If it is an Ethernet port, the maximum is 10 Mbps. If it is a fast Ethernet, it can go up to 100 Mbps. If it is a gigabit port, it can go up to 1000 Mbps. So now, I think these are fast Ethernet. So we can change it to from 100 Mbps to 10 Mbps. Okay, so I'll show you that. Sorry. So you can see, sorry, fast Ethernet 0, phase 1. So we want to change the speed of the port to 10 Mbps, 10 megabits per second. So the command is speed 10. It's going to change it to from 100 Mbps to 10 Mbps. And at the moment, the duplex setting is full
So
duplex. Yes.
so instead of changing the speed, why not just use the Ethernet since the default is up to 10?
No,
Or this one is static?
like what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
if you have a switch, depending
Yes.
on what type of switch you bought,
Yes.
so that switch port settings is going to have a maximum speed it can carry. So you cannot change those physical ports. You can only change the settings on the port.
Yes.
You understand?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the like that's not logical. The fast Ethernet and gigabit, it's not logical. It's actually by default. It's
Yeah,
physically.
it's actually by default. So you can only change
Okay,
the
so
settings,
if
but
it's
yes.
okay, so if it's fast Ethernet and then you want to operate like Ethernet, you then limit the speed to the Ethernet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You
You can
understand?
carry on.
So, but if it is fast Ethernet, it's 100 Mbps, but you cannot move it to 1,000 because you cannot, that is the maximum is 10. But suppose,
Yeah.
I mean, you have somebody in the office, you want to reduce the speed of his bandwidth. You understand? You want to cap its speed. So you can reduce that person from 100 Mbps to 10 Mbps.
Yeah, I understand.
You understand? So you can also change the duplex settings with the command duplex half. You can see. So you
Yeah.
see that this port, you have changed the duplex settings from full duplex to half duplex.
Have duplex.
I'm sure you understand what duplex settings mean. When you have
Yeah,
half
yeah.
duplex and you have full
Full
duplex.
duplex. Yeah, I understand.
So I
Yeah.
think you see there is a duplex mismatch. You can see the interface on the switch is going down.
Yeah.
You understand? So if that duplex settings happen, the interface have to be restarted and then adapt to the new duplex settings.
System.
So
Okay.
I think this will be the end of the session today. But one thing you have learned is how do you configure the clock settings? How do you configure host name of the device? How do you configure telnet? How do you configure SSH? How do you configure speed and duplex settings? Okay. So tomorrow we will talk about
Yeah.
VLANs. Okay.
Okay, no problem. You have this session recorded, right?
Yeah, this session is recorded. I'll share with you.
Okay, let's have a first.
All right. So thank you so very much.